Alright, so it's time to take the flywheel off. I already did a dry run. I removed the flywheel off the old engine. It came off a lot easier than I thought. Here's the bolt. So here's the tool to pull this flywheel off. And it came, like I said, it came off easy, so I don't even think you need this. You can just go to AutoZone or wherever and get a M20 by 1.5 drain plug for an oil pan, and that'll work just fine. It doesn't have to be this long. You can see those threads are real shallow, so you don't need a long ass puller to get, or a long ass push bolt to get this off. So anyway, we'll go ahead and take this off now. So let me get you set up here. So this is not the right tool, but it's what I got. So we'll see if it works. There's your bolt. Put a little grease on here. Just like that. So I thought that would be much more difficult. But it came off real easy. So we got it off. Now you just want to inspect the shaft here. Look at your woodruff key. Make sure everything's good. You also want to clean this with brake cleaner or something like that. You want this completely dry without any oil or grease or anything like that. Same thing with the flywheel. You want to inspect it for cracks or any damage, and you want this taper in here to be nice and dry before you put it on, because you know, it's a taper fit, so it's relying on friction and this little keyway, so it needs to be dry. And then you want to also make sure you torque down the bolt to 89 foot-pounds. All right, that's it. So the stator that goes on there, the cover was all scratched up. I painted it, but obviously it still looks janky. The cover from the old engine is still good, it just needs to be painted. So I'm gonna paint this cover, and I'm gonna swap this over to here, and then I'll get that put on and that'll be finished. After that, Then we're gonna be doing some electrical work. Yay! So, let's see. The side stand switch needs to be cleaned up and fixed because it's coming apart. It still works, but I don't know. Maybe I'll use some epoxy or something back here. But yeah, that needs to be addressed. And then obviously the burnt up stator connector we're gonna fix. And so when I originally bought the bike, they had a shift light mounted right here that lights up, you know, tells you when to shift, and it was tied into this circuit here. It had a little electronic, like a module or something, that was bolted right here. So I took all that off when I first got the bike. So I'll probably go in here and fix this the right way so it doesn't look retarded like this. And then after that, I'll torque this bolt and get that front sprocket put on. These sprockets and this chain need to be replaced eventually, but they're still good for now. So I'll get this put on, get the cover put on, and then we'll get to start putting the engine together, and hopefully we'll have the bike on the road soon. All right, we're gonna torque down the front sprocket to 107 foot-pounds. I skipped ahead a little bit. I got the cover on. I just got to put this pickup sensor on there, but we're going to use this one. This is a new one. And then fill up the clutch reservoir with fluid and bleed the air out. And right now I'm focusing on the side stand switch. So we're gonna clean this up and fix it. So you can see this is falling apart already. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna clean it with some WD-40 and my wife's toothbrush. My toothbrush. An old toothbrush. And then I think I'm going to fill this cavity here with some epoxy, some 2-part epoxy. All right, so I got all that stuff out. I had to use a pick to kind of dig it out. So now I'm gonna spray it with some solvent to get all the oil off and mix up some epoxy.
No limited Muskegon boys are merged and are called denim.
Oh yeah, smell that? I love the way this stuff smells. I don't know why. Try to get it as even as I can. Oh, sorry. Great camera work, huh? I think that's good. I think if I keep messing with it, it's just gonna screw it up. But that should be good right there. So I'll just wait for this to dry. Alright, so it's finished drying. I sanded this down. I'll go ahead and spray some paint on it, and it'll be good as new. Alright, there we go. Not bad, huh? I think that'll work just fine. Alright, so the new radiator came in. There it is. I paid $80 from eBay. So the welds look pretty good. Not bad. These tabs down here were bent. This one's bent too, but that's okay. I'll straighten them out. You can see it's a big difference from the old one. So I'll get all the hardware from this one transferred to that. Here's the silicone hoses. I got these on eBay as well. I paid like $35. So yeah, and they're blue. I'm gonna jazz it up a little bit with some color. If you don't like it, oh well, don't watch. So that's the radiator. Now, I had a comment about the oil cooler. And let me show you that. So I had a comment about the oil cooler, and the person was concerned, and he said basically I need to replace this because shavings and metal could have made their way into the cooler. And that's a valid concern. So I looked on eBay. I couldn't find any brand new. All I could find were used ones. And I think there was like one brand new one, but you had to order it, and it was shipped from China. So what I did was I took some of this and I put it in a bucket of water with this little giant pump. This thing puts out some pretty good pressure. So I basically used some Southern engineering, and I rigged this pump up to the cooler, and I flushed it out with the soapy water. So I rigged it up and I flushed it out. I just left it there for like an hour, just flushing out. And I did both ways. So I flushed it and then I back flushed it. And I did the same thing with the hoses, the hard lines. And then once I was finished, I sprayed some WD-40 and everything and blew them out with compressed air. So I'm confident that this cooler is cleaned out, and I'm just gonna reuse it. All right. All right, boys. So I'm ready to put the headers on. So I'm gonna get these hard lines put on. I will be replacing the O-rings. So I'm gonna get those on, get the filter on, and then I should be ready for the headers. All right, I got the hard lines on, got the bracket on. Of course, I bought the wrong filter. This is not the correct filter, but that's all right. We can still put the headers on. Before I put the headers on, I'll remove the rear shock and the linkage. So I'm gonna clean this up and clean the bearings and re-grease everything. And then these were the dog bones that were on there. I'm gonna put the stock dog bones back on. All right, there we go. We got everything cleaned up. There's the shock. So I'm gonna pack these bearings with just regular lithium grease but I'm gonna pack them as much as I can. And then I cleaned everything in here too, the swing arm and whatnot. And cleaned all the lugs and stuff down here. So I originally planned on taking the swing arm off and doing the same thing with the bearings for the swing arm, but I need to get the bike on the road, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. When I change the sprockets and the chain, then I'll do the bearings, the swing arm bearings. There we go. It's all clean, greased, and hooked up. All right, I went back to the auto store and got the right filter. It's a Wix 51359. Also the stator cover, I went ahead and painted, so that's ready. That's going to be a lot better than this one with scratches all on it. Here's the headers. Sorry, my brain stopped working again. So here's the headers. I'm going to clean these up. So you can see I cleaned this side up a little bit. That's what it looked like before. And then of course I'm going to clean up the end of the headers right here that actually engage into the engine. Now, I'm not going to go crazy with this and actually clean these and take all this oxidation off. I know some people like to use, I believe it's sodium hydroxide, which is basically lye. And it's inside of, they use it in like toilet cleaner or drain cleaner. So people like to use that to actually remove this layer of oxidation and make the exhaust tubing shiny again. However, these headers really, you don't really see these unless you're, looking directly at the front of the bike. And the grade of stainless, I believe these are stainless. Hold on. Get a magnet. Okay, well, they're pretty magnetic. So maybe they're not stainless, or they're a lower grade of stainless. So removing this layer of oxidation really doesn't do you a whole lot of good, because they're just going to oxidize again. But it really doesn't do you any good to clean all this and get them all shiny. So I'll show you, because these aren't meant to be seen really, so it doesn't matter. But let me show you on this bike. So this is a Yamaha FZ1 and it's a naked bike. And you can see the headers are nice and shiny. So they use a better grade of stainless because this is a naked bike. You can see everything. You can see the engine, you can see the headers. So they're meant to be seen. So you want them to stay looking nice. I've never cleaned these, so that's why they're still shiny. It's just a different grade of stainless. So that's why I say it's not really worth it to clean these. Just leave them like they are. They're just fine. If you want headers that are going to be super shiny, then you need to get aftermarket headers. All right, got the filter on there. Now I'm going to, when I installed the engine, I put a little bit of oil in it, so I'm going to drain that oil out. And then once I hook up the cooler, the oil cooler, I'll fill it up. All right, I got the headers cleaned up. And if you remember from a previous video, I had hell getting this bolt out. And the reason is the nut that's in here is only held in place by these tabs, and these tabs were bent out, so that square nut was just spinning in place, so I couldn't get this bolt out. So what I did was I took a hammer and a punch and I bent these tabs back down, and I got it to where I can get a 17 millimeter wrench on here, and hopefully that'll prevent those tabs from bending outwards. Also, I got these block off plates installed, and in a previous video I said that this was the EGR system, the exhaust gas recirculating system. That's incorrect. This is for the PAIR system, PAIR, which is PAIR system, pulsed air injection system. So what it does, you can see right here, here's the headers, and then that's where the PAIR system connects. It basically injects fresh air into the exhaust system, the exhaust gas. It's for emissions. We don't need that down here in Texas, so that's why I was saying I deleted that system. So I just wanted to make that correction. It's not EGR, it's a PAIR system. All right. Start looking like a bike now, huh? So what I did was I just set these in place, and I just hand tighten these bolts. All right. Make sure that when you install these bolts, you do it by hand. All right. Don't just run them in with a power tool, because you can easily cross thread those aluminum threads. But I just got them set in here, and then I use the scissor jack to kind of lift this end up. You don't need this, but it just made it easier for me. And then I got that back lug in. You see back there? So, but everything's loose. Everything's loose right now. So what do you want? So I'm not gonna connect the focus, damn it. What the hell? I don't want to connect the actual exhaust yet. So, but what you want to do is you want to start, when you start tightening these bolts, you want to start from the headers and work your way back. Okay, so you would tighten these and make sure that you torque them. Use a torque wrench. You want to start here, tighten those, and then you tighten that, and then you go to your final exhaust system. So basically, when you're tightening everything, you start from the front and you work your way to the back. So I got the stator cover on. I got one of the hoses installed. And now it is time to do the electrical work. Now, I removed the air intakes. I removed both intakes just to get them out of my way, because I'm going to be working on this right here, this back here, and of course the burnt up connector. So I'm not gonna lie to you, I've been dreading this part of it because I hate doing electrical work, but it needs to be done. So I think we're gonna tackle this first. I'm also going to disconnect all this right here just to get it out of my way. Plus, I think there's some new thingamajigs that were included with the engine that I bought. So I'm gonna replace anything that I can with new stuff. So, all right, there we go. Got this out. So this will give me more room to work now that this is loose. Okay, so I need to work right here, and this part of the harness was actually pinned into the frame right there. So I used this trim tool and just stuck it in there and pried it up. And now so you can see these wires. These wires got pretty damn hot. So I might actually have to, let's see. I'm trying not to cut into this harness if I don't have to. So let me take some of the sheathing off right here, and then we'll see what we got. All right, so I've got the circuit isolated, and you can see these wires are actually burnt a pretty good ways back here. So I originally thought maybe I could just cut the wires here and, you know, add new terminals to them, but I don't know, man. So not only are they burnt, but they're real stiff. Where the dark area is, that wire is real stiff. Like it doesn't have any flex to it. So I'm gonna have to cut it back here where the wire's still good, and then I don't know. Let me figure out what I'm gonna do. Oh yeah, there we go. Alright, so now we have good access to these wires. So I've got some 14 gauge 600 volt, focus, 600 volt 14 gauge wire. This is what I'm going to use. Alright, there we go. It's a little bulky, but that's okay, it'll work. Now our extensions. Okay. I think that'll work just fine. There we go. And might as well put some heat shrink on there too, huh? Why not? D-U-N, done. All right, let's move on to the terminals. All right, so I went ahead and I removed the front fairing stay. All right, I took this off so I would have better so I'd have better access to this. I don't remember what was going on with this, but it might have had something to do with the shift light that they had installed, the previous owner. So I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna, while I have all this apart, I'm gonna clean up all these wires, this harness sleeves, I guess you could call it. I'm gonna clean all that up. I'm cleaning up all these connectors. I'm gonna take apart these connectors and clean them up really well. Oh yeah, this too. I gotta fix this. But all this is gonna get cleaned up. All right. I'm gonna clean it really well. I'm gonna clean It's a cat. There's a cat right there. Cat, what are you doing? What are you doing, cat? Anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna clean. Here's the fuse box. So, like I said, I'm gonna clean all this, clean it all up. Plus, I have better access to this area right here. So, before I actually do the terminals, I'm gonna clean all this stuff up and fix those things, and then tape it all up, and then I will get back to you after that's finished. Oh, and just to let you know, the way I clean things like this is just regular old WD-40, my wife's toothbrush, and some compressed air. So these connections here, even when the harness is wrapped, when it's wrapped up, these connections just hang out like this. There's no protection on the wires. Let's see, here's another one hanging out right here. So they all just kind of hang off the harness like that. So I'm gonna add some protection to the wires, and I'm gonna do like I showed you before. I'm going to disengage the wires from the actual terminal, and then I don't know, maybe I'll just put some heat shrink, or I might have some actual rubber sleeving for this. I don't know yet. I'll figure something out, but that way it looks a little better. It's not just hanging. You don't just have a bunch of, random wires just hanging off the side of the harness. There we go. Something like that. Takes a little time, but I think it's worth it, Just kind of cleans it all up and makes it look nice. Makes it look professional. I don't know. I like doing it, so All right, so I'm finished with this section here, so I'm gonna go ahead and tape everything up, and I'll show you what tape I use. All right, though, so this is splicing tape, and it's not really sticky. It's a little sticky, but it stretches a lot, like that. And so this is for, like, I'm not an electrician, but as far as I know, this is for splicing like high voltage applications. But I'll basically wrap the harness, I'll wrap everything with this, just one layer, and then I'll go over the top of that with some good quality electrical tape. Okay, here's what it looks like with the splicing tape on there. And like I said, after this is installed, then you go back over it with some electrical tape. It does take a little time to do this, but I think it's worth it. So I'm going to continue on down the line. Here's the wires for the stator. I still need to connect the terminal to it, but I'm gonna work my way down and basically do the same thing I did here, right on down the line. And you know, some of these connections like this, I'll probably sleeve this. This one I'm gonna leave alone. I'm not about to unplug all this stuff. Excuse me. But yeah, I'll just go down the line. I'll clean all this up, clean all these terminals, work my way down the line, fix this like I was telling you, clean all this, fix this, and then I will get back to you once it's finished. Whew, that took a long time. All right, so I'm finally finished. You can see I went ahead and sleeved all of the exposed wires. I cleaned everything up. Still need to do this. Don't worry, we're gonna get to it. I wrapped these right here. So I'm pretty much done with the harness. Now, I was over here inspecting the wires for the fuel injectors, and I noticed that it's starting, the tape that they have on there is kind of falling apart. It's real stiff. It's just old because it's gone through so many heat cycles being on top of the engine like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and sleeve these two, just because they're, you know, I mean, this is for your fuel injection, so I'm gonna clean everything up. This one has a sleeve on it already. I don't know why they didn't do these, but anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and clean all this up and do the same thing. All right, so got all that fixed. This is the splicing tape right here. I haven't wrapped it with electrical tape yet. And it looks a lot better, right? I don't know if this is a waste of time to do this, but I feel like this kind of upgrades the bike a little bit, you know? I think it's worth it. Put in a little extra time and do it like this while you have easy access to everything. Why not, right? Okay, so here are the leads for the stator, and then here's the connector coming from the stator. I already took the terminal off, and after looking at this, I wanted to use actual terminal connectors, but so here's the connectors, right? I wanted to use these. The thing is, that's pretty bulky, right? I mean, that's going to be sitting over here like this somewhere. So I think a better idea would be to just use some bullet connectors like this. you know. So it'll be 3 bullet connectors, and that's going to be a lot lower profile than that other terminal connector. So I'm gonna go this route. All right, there we go. Got our bullet connectors hooked up. This is also going to make it a lot easier if I ever have to replace the stator. I can just simply attach new bullet connectors instead of having to do a whole new terminal. So like I said, I still got this terminal. This one's going to stay. That hooks up right here. And then these 3 hook up here. So that's finally finished. Now I can start putting everything back together and get the throttle bodies on. And then I think that's it, huh? We got the headers. Yeah, so we'll hook up the throttle bodies, hook up the you know, all the electricals and whatnot, get the air box on there, cooler, radiator, and then we should be able to fire this thing up, see if it runs. All right, I think that's going to be it for this video, guys. I know this was a long one, but you know, I appreciate you watching, and I really appreciate you guys subscribing. I've gained a lot of new subscribers. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next video. Peace.